Copyright disclaimer under Section 107 of the Copyright Act 1976. Allowance is made for fair use for purposes such as criticism, comment, news reporting, scholarship, and research. Fair use is a use permitted by copyright statute that might otherwise be infringing. Non-profit, educational, or personal use tips the balance in favor of fair use.
The views expressed at or through this broadcast is those of the individual host and guests in their individual capacities only. The information provided on this broadcast does not and is not intended to constitute legal advice. Instead, all information, content, and material available on this broadcast are for general informational purposes only. All viewers should contact their attorney to obtain advice with respect to any and all legal matters.
Peace and blessings. This is Jakim from the Hard Talk with Jakim show. Can't get enough of the Hard Talk with Jakim show? You can email us at btom6164@gmail.com. That's BTHOMP6164.
The president said he had a mandate. And I was making it clear to the president that he has no mandate to cut Medicaid. I have people who are very fearful. These are poor people, and they have only Medicaid in their lives when it comes to their health care. And I want him to know that his budget calls for deep cuts in Medicaid. He needs to save Medicaid, protect it. We need to raise the cap on Social Security. There's a possibility that it's going to be hurt, and we got to protect Medicare. These are the safety net programs that people in my congressional district depend on. And this president seems to care less about them and more about the number of people that he can remove from the various programs that have been so helpful to so many people. It is the best way to get it across to a person.
Peace and blessings, y'all. This is Jakim from the Hard Talk with Jakim show. Listen, man, I've got a great action-packed show for you today. I've got a great guest on. But before we do that, I want y'all to remind y'all that, again, you can contact us at btom6164@gmail.com. That's btom6164@gmail.com. And you can actually email me. I get a lot of hate mail, and I love it. And I get a lot of great mail, and I love that too, so I don't care. So listen, we've got a great gentleman right here in Wilmington, Delaware. This brother, I've known him for a number of years. We've been crossing paths for a while, and he is a student minister for the Nation of Islam and one of the best organizations you probably have in the United States, especially for black folk. But let's welcome student minister Robert Muhammad. Come on, bring it up, brother. How are you doing, my brother?
I am fine, brother. Trying to make my word my bond.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Yeah, we got an action-packed show tonight because we're going to be talking about a couple of things that's going on here in Delaware and here in the nation as well. And believe you me, what's going on here in Delaware is just a microcosm of what's going on all over the world. In fact, my brother Robert, I was recently in Tennessee a couple of weeks ago, in Atlanta and all that, and I see the same exact stuff I see here. What do you say about that?
Brother, like you said, well, first of all, brother, I would like to thank you and your staff for the wonderful work that you are doing, have done, and are doing, and will do.
Thank you, my
brother. Thank you for this platform, and we need more platforms like this that speak to the issues and the concerns of our community. And from the nation's perspective, brother, keep up the great work.
Thank you so much, brother. Thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah, because when you're in, no matter where we are on this planet, I see the same doggone thing every time. No power, people got crumbs, political things. What do you say about that, brother?
Yes, sir, brother. Well, the Honorable Minister Farrakhan taught us when you are reading the scriptures, particularly the Bible and Holy Quran, we the black man and woman of America is styled in the scriptures as the lost sheep, the prodigal son, the children of Israel, because we're in the modern day house of Israel and we are their children. We are their subjects. And so what we see in Wilmington, Delaware, we see in California.
Yes.
We see in Phoenix, because as you said, the nation is all over the country. So what is affecting us in Wilmington, Delaware is affecting our brothers and sisters in Colorado, in San Francisco.
Yes.
And so there is a verse that says, kill all boy babies, but spare the female. And that was the plan of Pharaoh, that he had to keep the male destitute, dead, but keep the woman alive for what? That she may produce offspring that are big and strong, but with no sense.
Yes.
And unfortunately, brother, this is taking place all over America. We are strong, but we have no sense. And so we do not come together in unity because someone's trying to keep us apart.
Yes, sir. Let me just piggyback on that, and I like where it's going, because we just showed the package of a Representative Al Green walking out of well, I guess it was a State of the Union address, but State of America by Donald Trump, and he was talking about how these social programs are being cut and gutted when there was no mandate for that.
Yes, sir.
One of the things that a lot of people misunderstand, and I try to bring this to enlightenment on our show and in our platforms, that Trump didn't really get any more votes than he had in 2020. Basically, what we had were people who voted for Biden. A lot of them did not come out for Kamala Harris. Now, I can see a lot of scripture, and I'm not going to go into any scripture right now, but I can see a lot of scripture based upon most of the books, most of the revealed books, that this is what they do. And of course, the idol worshiping.
Yes, sir.
I want you to just talk to black males about why it is so dangerous, black men and female, but black males in particular, why it's so dangerous to be an idol worshiper.
Well, what happens, brother, when we become idol worshipers, it's an unfortunate thing. We are worshiping, and this was one of the tragedies, brother, when it came to us and the religion Christianity, not the teachings of Jesus.
Right, religion.
We had been indoctrinated with the Caucasians' interpretation of the revealed word of God, and I'm speaking of the Bible in this sense. And so what happens, brother, when that is misinterpreted, then you have a people who have been subject to those that have given us that indoctrination. And so when one says, if I give me your coat, if I take your coat, then your pants. These scriptures that had been given to us by our open enemies, it had been indoctrinated in us, and now when you look at us, we have been made, unfortunately, other than ourselves.
I didn't really cut you off, but you're absolutely right, and I'm gonna go focus right back on that, because we just had the football combines, and we had a whole bunch of stuff with sports that it is embarrassing when I'm on the bus or on the train or public transportation, and I'm on the transit advisory committee here for DART, that people can tell me more about a sports thing than they can tell me about the politicians that control policies in their state, in their country. This is definitely idol worshiping. What do you say?
Brother, well, that's why the book calls us children. Children are fascinated with shiny objects.
Yes.
Children are fascinated with being amused. And so when you look at us, the enemy has us, who's better, LeBron or Michael?
Right.
Who's a better rapper, Kendrick Lamar or this one? We are involved in foolishness, but the enemy is moving and shaking, and before you know it, the enemy will be looking at us right in our eyes, and we would not even realize that war and death are upon us because we are so busy, chasing the next thrill. And and this is what has happened. And so a man like the Honorable Minister Farrakhan, we have treated him as a sweet and a lovely song that, he pipes all day long, but we have not gotten up and danced to the beat of that which comes up out of the minister's mouth in terms of us uniting, in terms of us pulling our resources together, because we're so fascinated by this world's life. And brother, we are at the end of this now. Trump is being used by God, Minister Farrakhan says. Trump is written of in the scriptures, because the book says in the book of Corinthians, during the last trump, the trumpet will sound. The Honorable Minister Farrakhan said that Trump would be the last president. He was the last president that Minister Farrakhan has warned of what would take place and what he needs to do to get up out of the judgment of God. And so this is what we're facing, brother. We're facing the judgment of God. He's angry with America and the world. And we really just do not know how precious we are in his sight.
Yeah, that's funny. It's funny, but deadly serious.
Yes, sir.
And we make those correlations between those particular things. And listen, if you're not a religious person, if you don't believe in the scripture, if you don't believe in the Quran, you don't believe in these holy books out here, it doesn't really matter to me as long as you are a good person. We're going to push the envelope to this. We here, and let me just get back to Delaware, because I did say I was going to stay with Delaware for a second tonight. When I was told, when we hooked this particular interview up, I had a couple of emails come in and say, well, what is he going to talk about? What is he going to talk about this? We're going to talk about that. Look, all of this ties together. And when I have to say this and I have to explain, I don't like to explain to a lot of people because it's a waste of time. We know what. But if you do not understand the level of idol worshiping, the level of that, even if he is against them and their self-interest, that they voted for him and they want him in charge to make sure he keeps boots on us. If you don't understand that, I have nothing there's nothing I can give you. I'll be wasting my time.
Brother Jakim, you just mentioned a very important word, what you just said was self-interest. What the most disappointing individuals in this election, since we're on the election, were Black women. Black women thought and knew that white women were going to side with them, with Kamala, because obviously she's a woman or whatnot. But what we see, we have to look between the lines and study and learn. What happened almost 10 years ago when Trump ran against Hillary?
The same thing.
The same thing. They went for Trump. They didn't go for Hillary. And so did we think now that a woman of color, that she would overcome that odd of the first,
No.
And they did not allow Hillary to do it.
And they wouldn't let her.
And so, but here's the rub, brother. See, they got the playbook. What we don't realize is that the birth rate of whites are below 2.0. When your birth rate is below 2.0, that means that you are going into extinction.
Yes.
The Caucasian race is dwindling. Europe, they say in the next 20 years will be a brown country because of all of the immigrants from Middle East from the Middle East that have come to Europe. That's why they're able to choose a mayor of color in London, England, because all of the immigrants who have moved in and the birth rate of whites are dying. So they said this: why would white women vote for Trump? And it looked as though he was going against women's rights because they had the playbook. The scientists have told them, stop going to the abortion clinics, destroying your children, because we're dying as a race.
Let me give you there, and you're absolutely right. And I've studied a lot of the hate groups that's in the United States, especially the KKK, Aryan Nations, and all of that when I was up in New York City. And one of the things that we've seen time and time again is that every time there's a considerable, or what they consider to be Black achievement or Black excellence or Black advancement, we always see this white outrage from people that seem to be on your side and voted for Obama and gave money to Obama, but seem to, by the numbers and by the stats, voted against you when they think that you're getting, let's just say, what my daddy and granddaddy went through, that you're an uppity Negro.
Right, yes, sir.
We've seen this pattern, and this pattern
sir.
constantly happens. What do you say about that?
Well, I tell you this, J.B. Stoner, my brother, the first Justice Thurgood Marshall, when he became he became the justice, he said when he was leaving, he said, look, I used to think that the KKK wore white robes.
Yes.
But he says, I see them now wearing Black robes.
Oh, that's
They're
right.
wearing police uniforms. They're lawyers. J.B. Stoner and the Honorable Elijah Muhammad had a debate. And J.B. Stoner, the Grand Wizard of the KKK, said that in the future, Mr. Muhammad, we won't be wearing white hoods. We'll be in this department, that department.
Lab coats.
Right. That's exactly. We'll be in every field of endeavor. And so that mentality is incorporated in every field of discipline that is in America and throughout the world.
Yes, I agree with you 100%. And again, the dominant power structures to be would like for you to believe that the people that they send to you are actually allies to your community, and yet that's not what their agenda is. See, I have no problem with people with agendas. Yes, I have a problem when you have a hidden agenda, that is not seen. And I know we've had a lot of people that said that. One of the things that we've found in our last election here in Delaware, especially for mayor of Wilmington, is that we have seen so many of what I like to call the slave makers, the bootlickers. In fact, I think I coined this phrase, the brunch Negroes. These are the Negroes that are in so-called Black organizations that only want to be the Black person there and only want to be able to lift themselves up and not lift Black life in Delaware up. What do you say to that, sir?
Brother, unfortunately, as the Honorable Minister Farrakhan said, we are Black people, but we have another kind of head. And so we are made in America. We may look Black, but we have the head and the mentality, unfortunately, as our former slave masters. And so, brother, this is what I say to those of us that aspire to become leaders and helping our people. You cannot be or not help Black people if you don't love them.
Yes, sir.
You cannot get involved in politics get involved with the spiritual reality, get involved with the business reality if you don't love your people. And so that should be the vetting when it comes to those of us that are running for office, those of us that desire to stand before our people and stand up for our people. Do you love black people enough? And it has to be a board, brother, that we vet those that come before us. And when we send them to City Hall and they don't do our bidding, then we should bring them in, chastise them, and then get rid of them when they do not do what they're supposed to do. See, we have to be like the old gangsters when they said, but let me tell you, brother, there was a principle in that. So when the Italian boys or the Irish boys send their man downtown, they say, well, you represent our interest.
That is correct.
And by representing our interests, you're making sure not that we want to bully and get over on somebody else, but you represent our self-interest. But if you go down there and somebody offer you some money and then you vote here and sign this and go and take some money and then allow you to be bought and your people go down the drain and there is no accountability. See, time out for that, brother. See, there's accountability in other communities when they don't do like they're supposed to do. See, it is who's the highest bidder. And we have to stop that, brother. And so there's a prayer, brother Muhammad, where it says, my prayer, my sacrifice, my life and death are all for God. And that should be the criteria for any one of us that want to serve and sit up and stand up for our people.
Yeah, here, brother. I definitely, and I will be allayed if I didn't say Ramadan Kareem.
Ramadan Mubarak, brother. Thank you.
So,
thank you.
Listen, we have a bunch of stuff that we're going to get to. And I have this right here. We have the student minister, Robert Muhammad, with us on the Hard Talk with Jakim show. Now, I'm going to be right back with a particular question, but I'm going to leave you right now with, from the Honorable Louis Farrakhan, a message for most people. But before I do that, I want y'all to understand why Trump is in office. I'll see you right on back. We'll be right back with the Hard Talk with Jakim show.
Is there anything that could happen with him indictment-wise that would say, all right, maybe this disqualifies him for president?
Not for me. I'm with him to the finish.
All right, thank you so much.
He could stand on the front steps of the White House and commit murder, and I'm with him.
That tells you everything. We'll be right back.
Hey, you a big grown hunk, 25, 30 years old, you blaming your mother and your father for your shortcoming? Don't you realize that you are now the master of your destiny? And if you as a grown person want to continue to blame the white man, blame your father, blame your mother, blame the educator. I had a bad teacher. I went to that dumb school over there. I was in reform school. I went to jail. I went to here. Every place you've been is school. And if you learn what you're supposed to learn, you come out of wherever you've been with a determination to become your own master.
All right, y'all, we're back with the Hard Talk with Jakim show. We're here with student minister Robert Muhammad. And listen, I just showed you two clips, two packages. One was, this was said back in 2022 that he said, I don't care what Trump does, how many indictments do, whatever he does, he can shoot a person on the steps of the White House. This white man says, I am with him. And of course, I'm not going to, we're going to mention that I don't care what school you went to. I don't care how hard of a life you've gone through. Your job is a purposeful job on this planet and on here. So don't give me that. We need to get together to raise the level of the black community all over the United States and all over the world, which raises the level of all people all over. What do you say about that, brother minister?
Brother, what is the biggest handicap that we as a people have? The biggest handicap is our self-hatred.
Yes.
Self-hatred was born and bred in us by our open enemy, you know? And so by being that being done to us, and then envy and jealousy and being incorporated in that mixture, it is very difficult for us to come together. And so any man that is willing to do that, he's ostracized. Any man that is willing to suffer and sacrifice, then that man is a rebel rouser. You're stirring up our Negroes. And so, brother, it is we have to be man and woman enough that we do not care. The biggest common denominator is that we're black and we all catching hell.
That's right.
So that is what we need to unite on to get through this time that we're in. You mentioned earlier about no matter what religion, no matter what kind of station of life that we come from, that we have to unite. You see, and the biggest thing that the enemy, the denial objective of the United States, is never to allow black men and women to unite and to do something for themselves. And I would say this before you go, don't you know that Muammar Gaddafi wanted to give the nation and put the Nation of Islam in its national budget of giving us $1 billion a year for Black America, and the government blocked it.
Of course they did. Of course, and you know these, you know that whole time when Muammar Gaddafi and all these other so-called enemies of the state were erased from here. A lot of times it was never investigated. You never investigated fully because they don't want you to know that. But I want you to know that. Let me just go here. One of the things that the dominant society does is that they try to use documents to enshrine their goodness. And we know that these documents ain't worth the paper that they're written on, whether it be treaties, whether it be these things. A lot of times we see this all the time. Here in Delaware, we have an opportunity to do great work for Black communities because we have a large population of Black folks, whether it's in Sussex, Kent, and of course, Newcastle County. We have an opportunity to do good work here. It is, to me, the biggest failure in Delaware to some of our so-called Black leadership that has not done this work, that we and other people like us, we ain't the only ones that's doing this work. That is the biggest failure. And I've been here 20 years and I've seen nothing but bootlicking, stepping, fetching stuff from a lot of these politicians. Now, I'm going to talk about Delaware's legislation down in Dover, and then I'm going to go back to the city council real quick. One of the things that we are fighting in Delaware that I mentioned earlier is Jim and Jane Crow. No longer are we calling it Jim Crow. It's Jim and Jane Crow.
Yes, sir.
That have been doing us dirty here in Delaware. What have you seen about the homelessness here that has grown since I've been here that they are not doing? What do you think they can do better?
Brother, and like we first started off, when we were mentioning that this and that is happening in the cities all over the country. Well, homelessness is as well. There's a scripture in the Bible that Jesus, in the book of Matthew, where Jesus talks about when were you hungry, he was, and when were you naked, and when were you sick, when were you in prison, and I fed you not. And then Jesus said, inasmuch as you have done unto the least of thee, you have also done it unto me. The minister said, that is the criterion that God is using to judge this nation. How can a nation have homelessness where America has, she has been blessed, brother. But
Trillions of dollars.
Don't you know, in order to keep the prices of food up, in order to keep the prices of things up, America throws a lot of food in the oceans to keep the price of food up? Do you realize, brother, that as the Bible, the Holy Quran teaches us that Allah has made the heavens and the earth subservient to you, the sun, moon, and the stars. Minister Farrakhan said that the universe is a giant mammary gland. And the question is whether or not our relationship to the universe is the reason that we are not nursing and getting the nutrients and the vitamins from the universe. It is because there has been someone to interfere with that natural process that we do not see homelessness on our planet. The Bible says foxes have holes, birds have nests, but the Son of Man has no place to lay his head. You mean to tell me the glory of God's creation has no place to lay its head? It has no home but the foxes, but the insects. They have a place, but we are homeless, the glory of God. And that is because unfortunately, this world has been given to Satan, and Satan rules.
Listen, my brother, I'm gonna cut you off. I agree with you 100%. And the wickedness, and that's all I can call it, the wickedness of throwing food out when the other people are starving, or the wickedness of that people can't afford a particular place to live when they keep raising rents and raising up stuff. But I'm going to jump right back to that point again. I'm going to jump right back to why the black cowardness, and that's all I can call it is, the black cowardness here in Delaware, especially this big black sleep that we've had here before I even got here, has got to stop. And what I am seeing on Market Street in Wilmington, what I am seeing when I'm riding the trains or Scepter or Dart, I am seeing a waking up. But it's not as big as I want it to be. But if I can wake up one person, I'm not here to wake up 100,000. If I can put one person on path, then I'm doing my job. What do you say about that, brother?
Brother, and what you're saying is, you're right. The book says in the book of Ezekiel that it was some dry bones that was in the valley.
I know this one.
And brother, but God has sent one of his servants and to the dry bones, and the Son of Man, after he was sent among them, he said, look, Lord, these bones, they shaking and rattling, but they not getting up. And he said, that's all right. He says, prophesied into the winds. Trump is the wind that's going to bring these dry bones together, brother. And it's going to get rid of all of those of us that say that we represent black people. Now we're going to have to show and prove.
Yes, sir.
And so now these dry bones are going to come together because Trump represents a win in terms of cutting off the welfare as we know it, in terms of cutting off the Department of Education like we know it, in terms of cutting off those things. He is that one that's going to drive us together, and we're not going to be looking at each other too long now talking about you a Muslim or you a Christian or you a AKA a Church of God in Christ. Nah, we black and we all catching hell.
That's
so
right.
let's come together.
And
that's what's on the horizon right now, brother.
Yes, sir. And I feel it. And you're absolutely right. And for all those that are not joining the causes right now, when your great-grandchildren see us, now we're living in a data age. So everything that goes out is being stored. When I say the word data, I want you to remember stored. They're going to ask you, where was you doing this time, grandma, grandpa, when other people were trying to free people? I don't actually, and everybody who watches my show know I don't use the word civil rights movement because it was never the civil rights movement.
Right.
It was always the freedom fighter movement. It was always the freedom riders movement. And again, when they co-opt you, that's what happens. So we got to decolonize a lot of organizations. Let me just go to this point real quick. To all the black brothers and sisters that watch my show and you see us and you hear me talk, and remember, I have lots of guests on my show. Doesn't matter what race, creed, or color they come from, I have them because the truth is the truth, and it's regardless of what you were born and what color you are. But here's I want to talk to black men and black women. Stop with that goofiness of that y'all always online, that this is this and black women this and black men it is and this. Stop with that goofiness. It's goofy talk. I don't like it. And the second thing is, get away from this inferiority complex, yo guy. That inferiority complex doesn't matter. I'm telling you, it is a lie that they've been feeding you. What do you say about that, brother?
Brother, the Honorable Minister Farrakhan said 2 minds have to be destroyed.
That's right.
The mind of white supremacy and the mind of black inferiority.
Yes.
That's why the black man and woman have to be re-educated and re-taught and retrained into the knowledge of themselves, the love of themselves,
Number one,
and the proper use of themselves. And that's what makes the teaching of the Honorable Elijah Muhammad so valuable, because it took a man like Malcolm, who only went to the 8th grade of school, and met Elijah Muhammad in a prison and cleaned him up. Look at Muhammad Ali. These were men that were just like you and I, that had the American experience. But these men had a knowledge of self and a love of self. And they were able to use that knowledge to benefit self and to help their people. And that is the reason that the enemy don't want Minister Farrakhan to reach the hearts and minds of our people, and not just our people, but white people.
That is correct.
They don't want the minister to get into their ear, because the aim of them is to continue to say that the minister, he's an anti-Semite. He hates white people.
To divide.
No, he's pro-truth and pro-right and pro-freedom, justice, and equality to all of the human family of the planet Earth.
Yes, sir. And I'm going to say this. Again, when I say this about the black cowardice that's here in Delaware and the black cowardice all over, I say this, that the most dangerous thing in here is to have an inferiority complex. I don't think there's anything more dangerous than to have it in here that you are inferior. And when it's contrary to everything that you see in reality. You see it ain't real. Now, I worked, and I did say I was going to talk about a little bit about the prison system here. So again, I'm a retired correction officer from New York City, and over 21 years of service. And one of the things that I have seen, and while working in jails, I actually seen so much of reality. And again, as a Muslim brother, I had to do all the Ramadans. So, Muhammad, you got to do the Ramadan this year. So I've seen all the game that you probably, that most people don't. I've seen the game. I know what a con man looks like, and I know what they are. And when I look at a lot of our black politicians right here in Delaware, I see right through them because I know what a con man. Because when you go into jail, you got to really weed out who's a con man and who ain't a con man. You can see things in reality. My question to you is that when we, from the byproducts of the past, have shaped our future, but has shaped our now, but not our future. Remember, both the past and the future are byproducts of right now. What do you say about that, brother?
Right. Yes, sir, brother. During this time that we are living, brother, it reminds me of this. God had come to Abraham and said, look, man, I'm going to destroy Sodom and Gomorrah. And Abraham said, well, you're going to destroy the righteous right along with the wicked.
You mean Lot? Yeah.
Right.
Lot.
Yeah, yes, sir.
Yeah, right.
That was Abraham's nephew.
That is.
But the God had made a deal with Abraham saying that, well, but God himself made a decision that he was going to destroy Sodom and Gomorrah. And Abraham said, well, are you going to destroy the righteous along with the wicked? So what God did, brother, was God delayed his judgment. He knows Abraham don't see as far as he does. And Abraham was like, well, you mean to tell me, God, that there ain't one righteous? You want to kill him? He said, well, God said, if you can get 50, then I'll spare the city. Then Abraham said, I couldn't get 50. I couldn't get 40. I couldn't get 30. I couldn't get 20. I couldn't get 10. He said, I could not. Then God said, see whether or not you can find one. He said, I couldn't find one. He said, when he said he couldn't find one, fire and brimstone fell that same day. Here's what I'm answering your question, brother. See, all of these years, what we don't realize is that God has visited America. And he has decreed that America is number one on his list to be destroyed because of what he has done to his people and what they have done to humanity. So God, the black people are saying, you're going to destroy the righteous right along with the wicked. So God said, well, let me see whether or not if my judgment is false. So what did we do? We ran and tried to join to see whether or not God's judgment was a lie. We marched, we did this, we did everything that we could do, and God allowed that to happen. So we did everything. What is it that black folks have not done? Everything. So now God is coming with a choice. Now you've tried everything. And everything that you've tried has not worked. Have not you tried my man Farrakhan? Try him. My man who has been ostracized and who has been called every kind of name, like Jesus.
So let me just say, this is one of the things that I have dealt with and grappled with for so many years. Organizations that will come out here and help the people. Now, the Nation of Islam already has a track record of that. We know that. And all of us in the black community know that the Nation of Islam and organizations like the Nation of Islam have done some great work. The problem is that the policymakers, and we all know it, I'm not telling you anything you don't know, the policymakers in our state of Delaware, in the state of Pennsylvania. Hold on, let me just make sure. Big shout out to Chester, Pennsylvania. I said I was going to shout out to y'all. Big shout out to Chester, Pennsylvania. We have in Chester, Pennsylvania, you have Crozer Medical Center and another hospital that is run by private equity companies. Let me tell you something. These private equity companies are taking the country down. They buy these organizations like Joann's Fabrics. They buy them that are viable and making money, and then they just gut them. I know we all seen the movie Wall Street. This is nothing new. But like in Chester, you have a hospital system that is going to be, in 7 days, going to be out of commission, and people who need those critical services are out there saying, where can they go? Now, I saw the governor of Pennsylvania, Shapiro, say they're terrible, this is terrible, but I don't see him stopping anything. I see these mayors, I know Stefan Root in Chester, and these policymakers, if you're not going to go down there and do the work of the people, then we don't need you. What do you say about that again, bro?
Well, see, down, brother, that why have we not come together and bought a facility like that?
Yes.
See, and knowing that we need hospitals, brother, knowing that we are mistreated and abused and used, and you know the horrific stories that have been told, and
Yes.
and we have been always asked to go and get our own hospitals, and that was a cry in the nation that we must get our own hospitals. And brother, this is sad. This is sad, with all of the money that we have. Black people are the 9th richest nation on our planet. We gross $1.5 trillion out of the American economy every year. That makes us the 9th richest nation on the planet. But the money does not even go around but 6 hours. And but the Jews is maybe 24 to 30 days. The Asian community, 27 to 30 days. It is because they got unity. And it is because we have been fascinated with this world's life. Our money is spent on drugs, alcohol, gambling. But we should have that money in order to have our own hospitals, brother.
Yes.
Look at how much money we're throwing away.
Yes, we are. You're absolutely right. Listen, we have student minister Robert Muhammad right here from what your mosque number is. What's your masjid number?
Number 35 on 28th and Washington Street.
That's right. See, I'm used to Brooklyn 7C. So
7C, my man, brother Henry, Minister Henry. I love him.
Yes.
7C.
Yes, so again, we have him as a guest here tonight. I've been meaning to have him on, and we'll probably have him on again, but I've been meaning to have him on because I want someone on, again, that we have pastors on my show all the time. We have ministers on our show all the time. I want you to hear different perspective and the important perspective. We'll be right back with the Hard Talk with Jakim show right after this. Peace.
Separate the message from the messenger. And you will find out that all of them, there is so much truth behind it.
You believe in upward mobility.
Of course.
Right?
Absolutely.
Of course you do.
But I'm not going to give up one drop of melanin in order to get there. I'm not going to erase my race or my gender to get there. I want all of it. I deserve all of it, and we all do. I don't want to be blanded, bleached out in order to participate in this country and walk any hall of power or corridor that I want to. If I'm not good enough, if I'm not smart enough, then that's it. I'll take that hit.
Judge me by my deeds.
That's right.
Haven't you ever noticed why thinkers are hated when they're alive and loved when they're dead? Google Malcolm X articles and read what people were writing about Malcolm X when he was alive. Then Google Martin Luther King articles. Read what black people were writing about Martin Luther King when he was alive. Black people. Google Muhammad Ali. Just go and read what black people said about him when he changed his name from Cassius Clay to Muhammad Ali. If you think for yourself, sir, and you lead, and you have the courage to speak your truth, you must expect to be hated and expect to be misunderstood. The only thing people hate more than the truth is the person who speaks it. It's not a black thing, it's a human thing. What did the Europe...
Listen, okay, that was I had two packages there. One was from the late great Toni Morrison. Yes, we're not going to bleach, bland ourselves, whitewash ourselves to be accepted. We're going to be accepted as we are with the melanin in our lovely skin. And yes, Brother Vusi from South Africa, one of the great economic. Listen, if you don't know Brother Vusi, you need to get on top of him. He's talking about economics and how we can take that economics and do stuff. And he was raised in a country where black folks were 20 to 25 more populous than white folks. Yet they were under the hand of people that they had 25 to 30 more times of people. So we know this is insidious. We know it is wicked. But y'all got to check out Brother Vusi, and I'll push on a little bit more there. So let me just come real back to our beautiful guest tonight, student minister Robert Muhammad. The other thing that we saw recently here in Delaware that always fascinate me. Remember, what goes on here goes on in Texas, goes on in Tennessee, California, and so on and so on. One other thing that fascinates me is the lack of trying to be in your culture, to have a culture that is of goodness and of not of nefarious. I'll give you a perfect example. When I'm in the entertainment business, and believe me, we all in the content business. This in the last 20 years, all of us make content. We're all in the content business. But what type of content you're making is what is important to me. And what I've seen in the last 4 or 5 years that is different is that people are realizing that just because I have money doesn't mean I don't have problems. So all of our black folks that were just chasing the bag and not putting the bag back into uplifting others. I'm not just talking about one or two. I'm talking about uplifting others. Are now seeing backlash from a lot of people. What do you say about that?
Brother, that's exactly right. As you know, you just reminded me of our sister Oprah. When she went, I think she was overseas somewhere a little while ago. I mean, they were like, well, who the hell are you? This is a billionaire, but she's black. And right. The Honorable Minister Farrakhan said to us, no one person can rise above the condition of his or her people. Muhammad Ali, may God be pleased with him, came to Minister Farrakhan one day and said, brother, still a nigga. He said, and the minister said, oh, no, sir, brother, you're not a nigga. He said, still nigga. And then he said, because with Muhammad Ali being on a Wheaties box, most recognized face when he was among us in the world. But he was considered still a nigga because he was not able to rise above the condition of his or his people. And when we get to understand that, I don't care how much money Michael Jordan or Oprah or all of our athletes and entertainers have, if that money is not used to an exchange of building institutions, brother, that we can live long after we're gone. And that is the reason why the enemy does not desire that we marry wisdom and money. Keep them away from wisdom so that their money becomes useless.
Well, let me get right there, brother. Let me tell you, you're absolutely right. If you go into downtown Wilmington right now, there is not one building in downtown Wilmington that is owned by a black person or a black company. Not one. And we know that a lot of businesses registered their businesses here in Delaware because of our Chancery Court. Yes, and that is the goofiness that we need to stop.
Yes, sir. You're right about that, brother.
The politics here is just as dirty, as deep as Louisiana, New York, California, or Texas. Believe me, we're a small state, but it's just as deep and dirty. And I used to think the game was rigged. But once I got into the game, I knew the game was rigged. I didn't have to think about it anymore.
Brother, that's right. The Bible makes us says that the enemy makes mischief and frames it by law.
That's right. We love that one.
Yes,
now,
sir.
One of the things that I try to get out to people when they talk to me, especially when I'm on the bus. It happened the other day. In fact, big shout out to if you was on the bus on the 13th, because the guy started a conversation with me on going down Market Street on the 13th, started a conversation. And it came, and I was going to ignore him because, most of the time I don't pay attention to it because I'm on my business. But I had to jump into the conversation because he kept saying Trump, Trump, Trump. And I kept saying, why you keep saying Trump? Trump is the symptom. Trump ain't the disease. Believe you me. The disease is that we need to get our stuff together.
That's right.
We need to jump on our things together.
Right.
And he kept saying it, and the people on the bus, especially in the back of the bus, they was like, "Go ahead, Brother Muhammad, go ahead, let him." I gave him my card, and if you're watching this, because evidently you didn't see me on Channel 28, you ain't seen me all those years when I was on television. So now I'm on social media. You better pay attention. You can never leave the people who created the problem in charge of the solution. And I'm telling you now, though the solution for us is not going to come from the hands of Trump. It's not going to come from the hands of the Democratic Party. It's not going to come from the super progressives. It's going to come from us.
That's exactly right.
Of course, it has to be divine from the divine Almighty, of course, but it has to be us. What do you say about that, sir?
Brother, I admire the Asian community, because here they are. We're in our community, but you don't see the Asians picketing. You don't see the Asian family talking about you ain't treating us right. All they did was come together and produce the product that we make from can't see morning to can't see night. Some chicken, some rice, this, that, and the other. But we are so divided that we would have to have somebody else come in our community to make hundreds and thousands of millions of dollars. But we can't put together, because of self-hatred, stores. And then we won't come to the store. We are so filled with self-hatred that we would go to someone else's store, and so it would close our store. So little Billy and little and Bam Bam on the corner can't come and sweep up and earn a little change to keep him up out of trouble. We don't look at that like that, brother. And so again, unless you have somebody in front of you that loves your people and are willing to suffer on behalf of our people to see the goodness come up out of them, then you can't help black people.
Right. Well, listen, I'm glad you mentioned the Asians, because one of the things that we know that all of the progress that Asians have in the United States is from us. Because if it wasn't for the freedom fighters, if it wasn't for all of that, that is the only way they prospered, because they would get catching hell. But again, it was from our advancement, our so-called advancement.
Right.
Remember, it wasn't an advancement. We took 2 steps forward and 5 steps back. But let me just give you this, what I see in the Asian community that I do admire as well. One of the things that the Asian, and everybody knows, I play poker, and I play poker a lot of places all over the United States, in Vegas and Atlantic City and in New York City. And one of the things that I see is that the Asian community has just as many goofy people in their community as we have in our community.
Right.
Here's the difference. You won't see the Asian goofy ones being propped up as leaders.
Go ahead.
They put them in the back.
Right,
They hide them over there. They don't have the goofy girls out here dressing half naked and ask them about policies that they know nothing about. They don't do that. So when you're goofy in their community, you stay on the outside. In our community, they put them as leaders. That's a bad thing. What do you say about that, sir?
Brother, we are the only people that the enemy would put a mic in front of that when it comes to the politics and the condition of us as a people, then they'll say, hey, Charles Barkley, well, what do you think about the black such and such and so and so? And our brother, I love him, but Charles is not articulate in the aims and purposes of black people, brother.
That's right.
See, how come we are the only ones that they stick a mic in when it comes to our athletes and entertainers to champion our cause? How come you can't come to Jesse or the minister that this is what they do? See, but that's why we are considered children, brother. You know, and I'm not gonna come to their leaders. I'm gonna go to the ones that I give money to, that will not be able to stand up like they should stand up, because I give them millions and millions of dollars to play ball. So you should just shut up, Negro, and dribble.
That's right. And one of the problems I have, again, I've seen this, and big shout outs to all of our entertainers that recently passed away in the last 2-3 years. I'm gonna give you a quick story. A number of years ago, about 2009, 2008, I was in Atlantic City on the craps table, you know, playing craps. And I was on Atlantic City and I was having a decent roll. And this is a big thing. I was on and I had a decent roll, and a young Met person came over to me, younger than me. He said, yo, the guy over here just gave you $75 because you just made him a bunch of money. I said, oh, okay. Now, I've been a DJ and a musician basically all my life. I play bass. Y'all know that. And you've seen me at joints.
Yes, sir.
But I did not recognize the person that really sent the money through his emissary. The person was Roy Ayers.
Wow.
And I did not recognize him because he had a bald head. He had a kufi on, a kufi type style thing on. And I did not recognize him. And then when I walked away, somebody said, yo, you know that was Roy Ayers? And I had to shoot myself. I said, boom. I said, damn, I didn't even recognize Roy Ayers. And I've been listening to his music forever.
May God be pleased with him. Yes. Beautiful. I love his music, brother.
Rest in power, good brother.
That's right.
It doesn't matter who we are. And I try to say this all the time. It doesn't matter who we are. One of the things out of one of the Batman movies, they asked the guy Bane, who was the villain. He said, well, who are you? And the villain said, doesn't matter who we are. What matters is the plan. And in Black America, we need a plan. When Ice Cube was on that show in 2020, and these black women asked him, well, what about the Black Plan for America that you wrote? Ice Cube said, well, I gave it to the Democratic Party. I gave it to the Republican Party. It was Trump people who said, well, let's see if we can do this plan now. It was the Democratic Party that said, we'll get back with you. We'll get back with you. And from that point on, the women said, well, I see your Black Plan is for America, Black America, but what about us? Too many black women like to say, what about us? When we talk about Black America, we're talking about you.
That's right.
Listening to that nonsense from the other side. Same thing with the black men. Don't listen to that nonsense. You ain't getting nowhere without your black woman. What do you say about that, bro?
Brother, and that is the big thing. The big thing that the enemy said, and I mentioned it earlier.
Yes, sir.
That the children of Israel, Pharaoh said, look, I want to kill that male, but I'm going to spare the female. Why spare the female? Again, she is the producer of the labor. So if I can produce a strong male, but dumb and
Right.
more dumb than I want. Then I want. So they want to produce a male. They want to produce a male, but with no sense.
Yes. Yes.
And unfortunately, this is taking place. But as the Bible teaches you and me, brother, shall the prey be taken from the mighty? Shall the lawful captive be delivered? And this is what is being done now. The prey is being taken from this mighty nation that has enslaved us, brother. We're being taken from them right now.
Yes.
And brother, the outcome is going to be great. We just
Yes,
got some times that we're going to have to get through, and we're going to have to come together, brother.
That's right. And I agree with it. We're running against the clock. Actually, I ran a little 5 minutes because we were getting into it, brother. And,
Yes, sir.
And I'm all right with it. So listen, if anybody wants to get in contact with your organization, with the Nation of Islam right here in Wilmington, Delaware, how can they get in contact?
We meet. I would like to invite the community out. You come on out and visit on 28th and Washington Street this Sunday at 11 o'clock. And you come and fellowship with us, be with us. We also have our Facebook page, Mosque number 35. But brother Jakim, I know our people know where the mosque is.
Yes.
I want you to come out. Don't be like Nicodemus.
That's right. And listen, and when he has his fish fries, when they have their fish fry, you'll come out there and get some good, clean food, because clean living is how you got to get on from it. You can't do the dirty stuff and think you're going to be able to move on and progress.
There should be no black organization that should go without being supported. And you should support us because we support you all. And you know we love you because we're out there every day, every week, and you see us.
That's right.
Trying to give you the truth, and you may cuss us out. I don't want that paper. And we tell you, have a nice day, sister.
All right.
Brother, have a nice day.
Listen, I got to give a big shout out. Big shout out to my man, John Muhammad, man.
My man, we call him Johnny Torch.
Big shout out to you, John. You know
Johnny Torch
I got nothing but love for you, buddy.
That's right. That's
all
my
right.
man.
So when he see this, it'll put a smile on his face.
Yeah, Johnny Torch is the man. He and his wonderful wife, Sister Lakeisha.
That's right. So listen, this has been the Hard Talk with Jakim show. We was here with our student minister, Robert Muhammad. And I say ours because right here in Wilmington, Delaware,
that's right.
You can come and see him. He's out in the street. They're doing great stuff in there. And listen, I'll be back with the Hard Talk with Jakim show next Friday. We've got exciting guests on there, but I'm going to leave you with one thing from Malcolm X, and it's been a pleasure having you here. You have a fantastic Ramadan, my brother.
Thank you.
And you enjoy the rest of your night. Thank you so much.
Thank you.